So the components are linked to the curriculum, and they offer an opportunity for students to build lifelong geographic literacy skills, which are still important, as I discussed, and geography, maths and technology learning areas are addressed. So the mapping skills component has both digital and non-digital representations and methodologies, which again, for students to have multiple ways to access and view content is really useful for them to conceptualise and to remember. The pages in the print atlas have very specific skills and concepts. They have an opportunity to experience content in a different way, and the teaching notes also give a link to quite comprehensive activities, which we'll look at, and we'll look at the maps and quizzes coming up. So this is an example of one of the mapping skills interactives, and we'll have a look at another one in a moment. Each mapping skills stage has an interactive that corresponds to it, and it allows students to sort of experience the concept and extend their understanding in a hands-on way. So this one, you can see students actually get to drag the whale to experiment with what scale looks like. We're just going to have a quick flick over to the latitude and longitude one. So this is a year 5-6 one on latitude and longitude, and it gives you some information first of all about it and explains the concepts. So you could do that as a class on the whiteboard, or it's on the students' dashboard so they can do it independently. And then students get to have a try, so the globe can be rotated so that you can actually find the coordinates of Canberra, which is highlighted there for you. And again, through to the other coordinates. And for each of those, you'll see that the places are highlighted, but students can actually sort of really experience what that globe is like, which saves you having 30 globes in your class too. The interactive maps are another feature. They're really handy, again, for students to experience things, and I'll show you what that one looks like. So they're layered maps, and for example, I've actually turned off some of the layers in advance on this one. So you could ask your students to predict where the deserts are in Australia and why. And once they've done that, you can turn on the desert layer and they can actually see where the deserts are. Same with the grassland and the forest layers. So any of those features can be turned on and off, which is kind of a handy way, again, for students to experience the content in different ways and help with learning about map legends and understanding some of the geographic features in more detail. So the atlas also has maps and case studies in the back. The World Fact statistics have recently been updated for these ones. So for example, in the past it referred to the Iraq War, now it refers to the Syrian War, which is a little bit more contemporary. There's also lots of facts included in there that link to the curriculum, so things like birth rates, life expectancy, refugees, countries of birth, threatened species, those sorts of things that you might want information about, which is kind of a nice way for kids to realise that books still do have information too, and that hopefully that's a reliable source, whereas on the internet you've really got to possibly question the sources that you're at, so it's another handy aspect. So this is what a case study looks like from prep to year 2. You'll see it's linked to real world contexts, and you'll see the map is really quite simple for that year level. Once we come up to grade 3-4, again, real world context, but the map has more detail on it. And by 5-6, you can see that it's much more sophisticated. The map's more sophisticated, the information on it is also more sophisticated and age appropriate, so they do go up as you go up the levels. So typical learning sequence we'll have a look at. So the different components, as I said, are designed to use flexibly. You might begin by looking at the mapping skills page in the atlas together, or you might begin with the pre-assessment, and then explore the matching interactive as a class, and then choose the activities based on your pre-assessment that suit the learning paths of your students. So there's an opportunity to differentiate in a couple of ways. You could say, I know that these students will cope with this activity really well, whereas these students probably won't, so I'll give them this activity. And then there are also opportunities for mixed ability grouping, for grouping in ways that you feel are useful to students, as well as many open-ended activities that will allow students to sort of access at their point of need. Then students complete the post-activity quiz in years 3-6, and you can access the results. And we'll have a look at the quizzes in a little bit more detail shortly.